So as Mark said, my name is Amanda Wilkins, and I am the horticulture agent for Lee County Cooperative Extension. I don't know where everybody is coming from, but we are, Lee County is located southwest of here. If you know where Chatham County is and you know where Harnett County is, we're on the other side of Deep River, or that's Cape Fear River, Deep River, both sides. But yes, until 2 months ago, I was the curator, garden curator at Juniper Level Botanic Garden. So there's going to be a lot of photos from there. Ooh, that is a little scary on the thing, but welcome to the South. I am from Charlotte. I'm also notoriously bad at keeping time. I was very ambitious with my slide list, so I'm going to talk a little fast, but I'm going to try and cover a couple of points. Because yes, welcome to the South. Okay, let's see, Frank. Okay, so some things to consider. I speak Latin, not because I want to exclude anybody's knowledge. I want to elevate everybody's knowledge and make sure that when you find a plant that you like, you can go find that plant and get exactly what you want. Latin names do not change. Common names change from place to place. I do talk a little bit about climate. Sometimes that's a little bit of a dicey subject for people, but I garden and I know that every summer is different, and this summer was definitely different. So native, non-native, I'm going to mention things that are from North America and things that are from all over the world, but I do have a real bone to pick with invasives. And if you really want to hear more about that, I can hop up on my soapbox later. Pictures are worth 1,000 words. I don't have a lot of text on my slides. So if you miss something, please come back up and ask me about it. Let me see if I can move this, because man, it is like really. And then like I said, I want to make sure that you can get these, because nothing's worse than going, oh, look at this cool plant. Maybe you'll eventually find it somewhere. So I'm a millennial, as you can tell. I use memes. There's a really great meme group on Facebook that makes educational memes. So the joke here is I want maintenance-free landscaping that blooms year-round and makes food. And as we've learned from Mark Wethington, that is not really a thing that happens. You can probably get 2 of these 3 things, but never all 3. So just please be, oh, hey, hold on. Okay. Things to consider when you're picking plants, and I think Mark's going to go into this a little bit, but I want to cover it too. How much space do you actually have? What climate you're dealing with, and where you are at in the triangle. You need to know where you're at, because if you live in Chapel Hill does not get the same weather as Clayton, as Lee County, as Durham. So that is super important. The soil that you have. I'm new to Lee County. They have sand. I've come from Charlotte. I grew up with clay. I can deal with that. Sand is a whole new thing. So especially for those of y'all in Johnston County, y'all need to talk to your extension agent, because sand is a whole new can of worms. And then light. Oh my God, that's going to kill me. Hold on a second, get ready. Is this better? This is better. Oh God. So all of this is microclimates. Come on. Sorry, Frank. As Mark said, everything here is lush in the summertime. So it looks all beautiful and wonderful. And sometimes you can get really, you get really, really confident about what you're doing. And then sometimes you end up with something like this. I really don't want to encourage anybody to get out the frost cloth in February and March. This is something that we would do at Juniper Level Botanic Garden. It was a whole day's worth of work. It was a pain in the, we did it for collections reasons, but in the home garden, I want to make sure that if we get a late season frost, unless you're growing vegetables for production, let's just keep it simple, everybody. I'm with Mark on this one. I'm a lazy gardener. So I went from a 28-acre botanical garden to a not so big pollinator garden. This is the Pollinator Haven Garden in Lee County. So shout out to the lovely master gardeners and previous horticulture agent who put this together in 2017. And I'm really excited. On September 10th, if you can make it down, we're going to have a pollinator open house day where we're going to have, we're going to overhaul this thing and add at least 30 new different species of plants to this. already started putting the master gardeners to work doing soil testing. And as you can see, I have started killing grass already. Sorry. So main themes today that we're going to cover, and like I said, I'm going to try and cover this fast because I think I have 25 minutes left. Winter and spring flowering woodies, because I know that it's so exciting for people who are new to the South that we actually have like green things and color in the dead of winter. Some shade garden plants, because I know probably some of y'all have inherited large mature trees, and that's a real challenge here. Some southern lilies, because it's cool to think about things that don't flower in the wintertime. Some cool tropicals that might blow your mind that we can grow here. Flowering shrubs in general, because I have a soft spot for a few of those, and some cool perennials. My goal here is not to tell you about your contractor special that you may have inherited in your new build, or that you're trying to deal with in your not so new build. I am here to challenge your horticultural palette and maybe get you excited about some of the things that you can grow in and think outside that box that everybody gets put in. And shout out to this cool Schefflera delavei that's starting to really make it in thanks to folks at Spartanburg. So dead of winter. This is like early mid-February, depending on your where you're at. Cercis chinensis, K's early hope. This they actually put a name on this in 2009, the year that I went to NC State. It was a seedling that was wild collected in China. It's a J.C. Ralston introduction. And man, this is the best flowering shrub. Great habit. It is the Chinese version of our native redbud, but man, like all of the great habits and screaming in the landscape in the dead of winter. And very accessible these days. Not so common, Stachyurus spike-tailed tree. This is one of those wide spreading things, kind of gets about, I don't know, 8 feet to 10 feet tall and probably twice as wide at maturity. But man, this is March. It's doing this in March, and it makes such an interesting tree. I've got one planted in front of my house, and the intent is that I'm going to be able to walk underneath it up to my porch. My boyfriend doesn't know that yet. But this is a good plant to stay tuned for with the J.C. Ralston. They commonly grow this from cuttings from their plants here. So if you come to the giveaway in October and you're a member, you can probably get one of these. They grow very quickly too. Come on. Okay, Frank, sorry. Come on, there we go. This was a new one for me when I was at that JLBG, Clematis armandii. This is flowering in March. It is semi-evergreen clematis, and it is just solid white flowers through the year. I know that we occasionally get this through the Ralston. I think I won it at the Southeastern Plant Symposium for my yard. I don't have a spot for it yet, but I can't speak highly of this enough. It's just really some great presence in the winter. And I know you can, deciduous magnolias, I have a soft spot for magnolias, but deciduous magnolias, the door is open for you guys. You know, there are a ton of really cool colors and sizes and shapes of deciduous magnolias. And this is actually the Mobile Botanical Garden in January, but here they flower between February and March, and they come in white, pink, purple, yellow. Judy Zook. Oh my goodness. This is my favorite deciduous magnolia because that is buttercream yellow with purple blush at the base. And they are huge. Can't beat it. Hold on. And then I have to do a quick shout out to Magnolia Macrophila, which is my favoriteest magnolia of all. This is my mom displaying how big the plant is, but this is the largest flower and the largest leaf in North America. And it is native to Eastern North America, mainly in the South, but it was described from where I'm from. So this is actually on the side of the road. We're standing right here when we took this picture for those of y'all who are in the front row. This is I-85. So shade, we're going to cover that real quick. I'm sorry, everybody who I'm standing in front of the thing for. Quick top tips. Supplement your waters during times of drought. I know that kind of goes against what Mark said, but it does help, especially if you're still in that new time when you're trying to get your stuff established, and you're maybe not as lucky as Mark is. Mulch, 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 mulch. I can't say it enough, mulch. It really makes a huge difference. Mulch with anything, as like leaves, pine straw, whatever you just mowed in your lawn, just use that. Amend the soil with some organic something. But as an extension agent, I think I'm contractually obligated to tell you to do a soil test first. And they are free. You can go to your cooperative extension office in any county that you're in and say, I want to do a soil test. And it is free from April until Thanksgiving. Your tax dollars at work, everybody, do it. They will tell you what you need to do to your soil to grow the thing that you want to grow in that soil. Fertilize. It does make a difference to add some fertilizer, especially if you haven't quite gotten that organic machine in your soil profile going. And the water and all of this in your shade, remember, you're trying to compete with the roots of those mature trees. So always think you're not just growing the plants you want to grow. There are other things trying to get the things that you're putting into your landscape. So always keep that in mind. Let's see. Yes. So some cool things. This is a JLBG. Woodwardia orientalis is this really cool fern here. And this lovely, beautiful, bright yellow green thing is Bohemeria. Don't be scared. That's false nettle. But this is an Asian version of a native. And that is the color. I think I took this picture in June. And this is growing in deep shade root competition. And in this bottom right-hand corner with these purple flowers, this is Latilla Striata, one of the ground orchids. I did say ground orchid. It's a real orchid. I'm not making that up. And I love Woodwardia. I think this is Unigomata, but I love, this is the new growth coming up. And I really just did not do a good job of this. The scale, this thing is 3 feet tall, y'all. Like, how cool is that? And as the foliage comes out, it does this cool tassel thing, and the tassels kind of come up a little bit higher, and they have different colors. Some of them can be yellow and pink. So really interesting. And again, deep shade. Come on. Another ground orchid that I have to give a shout out to. JLBG has done an excellent job bringing in a diversity of these Kalanthis. And this is in March. You can usually see these during the open house, February, March. But I love the interplay between that yellow and blue, but there are tons of colors that these come in, and so easy to grow. I have a road chicken that comes into my yard, and he kicked it up this year. It's still growing. It's growing in part shade or part sun. So shade has a lot of opportunities. This is again at JLBG, but I want to challenge you. This is in the dead of summer, but it kind of looks like this even in the dead of winter. So Mahonia, we've got a Mahonia here with this lovely evergreen texture here. We've got an Aspidistra cast iron plant. Couldn't remember what this was. It could be a Carex, could be a Liriope, the lily grass, a non-running one, everybody. Yes, that does exist. JLBG has a lot of them, as does the Arboretum. We're trying to get more of them out. But look, this is what this is going to look like. That one, that's what it's going to look like in February. So it's possible. It's very doable. Oh my God, 15 minutes. Aspidistra. This is a 3 foot tall Aspidistra in Mobile. It still gets 3 feet tall here in North Carolina. And I just love that texture. Evergreen texture, just like that. Okay. Got to move fast, Frank. I'm so sorry. And this is a ground cover one, a ground cover Aspidistra, getting pretty short. Okay, Blake, I'm going to have you do this because I keep standing in front of these people here. Next one. Speaking of leaf texture, next. This is Farfugium Japonicum. And this is flowering. This is jasper. If you go to the JLBG, you can see jasper. But as you can see, this is fall color. Farfugium flower from October to November here in Raleigh, North Carolina. So after all of your late summer sunflower things are done flowering, these come on the scene and they grow in full shade to part sun. So how cool is that? And they're semi-evergreen. They might go deciduous if we get a really hard frost, but for the most part, you're going to have some really cool texture as well as presence. Okay, Blake. And it is possible to do a slight bog garden in the shade as well. Thing with bog gardens, air quotes there, y'all. It's water. just having water there. This is at JLBG as well. And I love what Tony's done with it. We have a lot of ferns here and a little hot spot, a little shout out to this plant next. This is not the species. Don't write that down. I was wrong. When I went back through this last night, I went, oh crap, that's the wrong species. But it is a Hymenocallis, and they come in all sorts of different plant sizes, but they can be, up to 3 or 4 feet tall, all the way down to like a foot tall. But what you really get is this lovely flower. And if you have one of every species, you pretty much almost have flowers from like April all the way until August or September. And what a showstopper. Okay. Ooh, did that work? A note about, ooh, that's great. Point and click. A note about tulips and other kind of narcissi. So we are hot down here. And a lot of times these spring flowering bulbs need a chill period. So you can go to Brent and Becky's or some other like bulb grower and you like drool over all of the tulips, the black ones and the yellow ones. I know I do. They are annuals. They may not even come up for you if you try and plant them, especially at the wrong time. I planted some this year in December and it worked. I'm really curious to see what comes back next year at my house in Lee. But we do have, there is hope. This is Tulipa taco. It is a selection of a species tulip called Tulipa clusianus that is available in the trade. That doesn't quite have, the species doesn't quite do this, but it still gives you the same flower and the same foliage in February, March. And it does perennialize. It comes back every year and it spreads. So if you really need a tulip, this is one for you. But next slide. We do have hope. There are summer flowering bulbs that don't really do well in the north. So this is the test. This is the goat trials area, JLBG, behind the scenes tour. If you guys, sometimes they do it in the fall. But this is the rain lily beds here. So it must have just rained like yesterday. They flower when it rains. If we go through a drought in the summertime and we get that glorious August rain, these will just pop out of nowhere. Next slide. And as you can tell, they come in all the colors. This is a native one, Zephyranthus Drummondii, white selection. And next slide. And this is Heartthrob. So next slide. And then the surprise lilies. I love these. Tony and JLBG have the largest collection in the world, as far as we know, and I believe them. They bought the first and the second largest, and they had the third largest. So I guess that's the largest. But if you want to go see those, go to JLBG. Their open house is the last 2 weekends of September. You should totally go. Next slide. And this one will probably be flowering right now. They're lovely because they flower like clockwork. You can almost set your calendar to each and every one of them. Sky Over Sky is one of my favorite. Next one. And of course, the hurricane lilies. If you've ever been to the deep south, these are very common. They call them hurricane lilies because they start flowering during hurricane season. But this is actually Hans Hansen. Quick shout out to our lovely plant breeders. Hans is the breeder at Proven Winners and Walter's Gardens. A lot of the plants that you probably have in your garden are from him. And even he was like, oh my God. And then this is just regular, like Chorus radiata. Carry on. Next slide. But he did bring us this. Next slide. This is Hibiscus Holy Grail. It's called Holy Grail because it is the Holy Grail. It is a short plant. It doesn't flop. It gives you dark colored leaves throughout the year. It flowers its head off. It cannot stop flowering and the flowers are open. He was like, I can't believe we got the plant that we were going for in our breeding goals, like within a couple of years. They got really lucky. And cool thing, this survives in Michigan, but it also does really well here as well. Next slide. A nice cool shout out to a native relative of hibiscus. This is Malvaviscus drummondii, and it gets about 3 or 4 feet tall, but it is a hummingbird pollinated plant. I see the hummingbirds at this all the time. The flowers are about that big, 3 or 4 inches long. But as you can see, if you look in the background, there it is peppered with all of these little tiny flowers. And right here, this little cluster of stuff, these are buds coming on. So there's probably, I don't know, I think I counted like almost 10 buds still coming on. And I took this picture in September. So if you need a good Hummer for late season that's native, there you go. Next slide. We can grow ginger lilies here, y'all. Hedychiums are on the menu. JLBG and Plant Delight sells a lot of them. Sometimes if you have a friend who has some in their yard, ask them for a piece. People always ask me, can you eat them? You can eat them. Are they going to taste like what you buy in the grocery store? No. But they do give you a lovely flower show in September, October, November, usually in the late October, November season. So I get a lot of calls, usually in October, like, why hasn't my ginger lily flowered? It's just hasn't gotten warm enough yet. Next slide. Another cool ginger thing that we can grow, and this is a true edible, Gingerbread Mayoga. This is at JLBG, growing at the base, on the east side base of the house. It's dry as crap here. It's a raised bed, but look at this thing. So this is what you see. If you could get down, like all those little peppered things, at the base of this foliage here are all these little flowers. In Japanese cuisine, they pickle this and eat it as stir fry. Next slide. Yes, we can grow bananas. Yes, we can. Asterisk. They sometimes make bananas. Would you want to eat them? Probably not. They come in all sorts of shapes, sizes, and colors. These are probably the most reliable species that you can get. Musa bosju is the kind of the textile banana is what I've seen it called. It is enormous. Do not put this next to your house. I know you're tempted to do it. It looks so cool and tropical when you do it. It will break your foundation and it'll be a pain in the arse to get it out of there before it does. So put it where you want it forever. Next slide. Another cool one that you can put next to your house is Brugmansia, the angel trumpets. They come in all sorts of shapes and sizes and colors, but Charles Grimaldi is my favorite. And this is in mid to late October. So again, just one of those delayed tropical things. Next slide. Okay, I did work at JLBG, 44 major collections. Next slide. I would be remiss if I did not mention the Amorphophallus. Yes, everybody can snicker and Amorphophallus. Yes, that is exactly what it means. I will not explain it to you, but they come, these are two of the more easier species to grow. And if you like the low calorie, no calorie noodles in like the health food store, it's made out of this plant right here. And guess what? It grows like a freaking weed here in Raleigh, North Carolina. So check it out. It does smell terrible though, asterisk. This one smells like a rabbit died underneath a shrub somewhere. And this one smells like your nail polish remover went bad somehow. Next slide. But you can also grow some really interesting Southwestern things. So a quick shout out to the mangaves that you can get at JLBG, and they're actually becoming more available. We've grown a lot. The royal we of JLBG tried to grow a lot of them outside. Blue Mammoth is the most reliable, cold hardy selection so far. Tony's trying more and more every year, but this one grows outside. It is so cool. You get the best of agaves and the best of manfredas. And you get these really cool flower spikes in June. Oh my God, such a cool plant. Next slide. I've got 5 minutes, everybody. Oh no, okay, I might take 10. We can also grow prickly pear cactus. Plant at your own risk, everybody, because remember, you have to weed that thing. Yeah, who's going in for that one? I paid people to do that. Next slide. Quick shout out to azaleas. I love azaleas. I was the curator of collections at the Mobile Botanical Garden for 3 years. They have one of the most amazing collections of azaleas in the country. But this one, Encore Azaleas are back on the menu for those of you who are from the Midwest and from the Northeast. You can grow almost all of them rather than just a few of them. And this is the parent. And these flowers twice a year, usually in spring and fall. Next slide. Another really cool one. This is a Satsuki Azalea. They call it Satsuki because it flowers about April, May in the 5th month. And yes, that is 2 different flower colors on the same plant. It is a conversation piece, isn't it? Next slide. And I am contractually obligated to talk very briefly about Deciduous Azaleas. I love that. That is the beginning of May, right there, full flower. Next slide. And it's the only thing. So this is the that was the vice president of the Azalea Society of America, and two old men just going straight through a hedge, like, oh my God, I got to take a picture of this flower on a stick. But man, next slide. And it's all thanks to Martin van der Giesen continuing on the legacy of Dr. Eugene Aromi, a backyard breeder who just loved azaleas. And Martin is a good friend of mine down in Mobile, a nursery person. Next slide. And he has been releasing all of Dr. Aromi's things slowly into the trade and trying to get them out more. And I'm trying to get them out more because, oh my gosh, look at that. That is fantastic. As one of the French interns yelled from Magnolia Plantation. And that's another azalea from Dr. Aromi. Next slide. I mean, come on. Oh my gosh. Like, how can you not? Next slide. And this is what you get kind of in the summertime. So it's a very dainty tree. It's really hard to sell. It looks like sticks in a pot, but it does actually make a really nice habit. Carry on. Next slide. So some more shrubs. Oh God, I've got 3 minutes. Hydrangea Peniculatas. Quick note about this. This is in downtown Sanford. I was driving down the street, coming home from the grocery store, and I was like, oh my God, what the heck are those? That is Hydrangea Paniculata, y'all. It is taller than my car. That is my car window. My car is like here, and these things are over here, man. Oh my gosh. But Hydrangea Peniculatas are a foolproof plant. If you like hydrangeas, the macrophyllus can be kind of finicky, and I can go into that for a long time. But paniculatas are just totally foolproof, and they come in every color, shape, size, form. They tolerate part shade to full sun. They do all the things that you want to do. The breeders have really done a lot of good work in here. So if you really need a shrub that kind of looks like a hydrangea and you have a vision for the size and the shape and the color of it, you can find one in this species. Next slide. Quick shout out, because I told Mark I was going to talk about this, but there are some cool native shrubs. And this is actually a new variety from Plants Nouveau that you should be seeing soon. But it is a great bee plant. Oh my gosh, like bees are it's covered in bees. So Cephalanthus, occidentalis, buttonbush. Thanks. Next slide. Another cool one. I love this plant. Tom Patrick. This is kind of a new plant, got from ABG, or Atlanta Botanical Garden, named for the late director of Georgia Department of Natural Resources. And this is a dwarf flowering running shrub, native, and all of those little tiny flowers. It flowers for a very long time. You can even see like there's tons of already like little flies and bees on it. So if you want a pollinator plant, it grows in well-drained soils. I've also seen it grow in kind of like wet soils as well. So stay tuned. I know Tony's starting to sell it through Plant Delights, and I know sometimes we offer it through the giveaway. So cool one. Peonies. I have 1 minute, everybody. I'm going to take 5 more. I know I'm going 5 over. I see Mark judging me, and I apologize to cut into your break. Peonies. There are some you can grow here. There are a lot of them that you can't, but keep trying. Go to JLBG. We trial a lot of them. I love tree peonies. This is, and Tony's going to start selling this soon. I'm going to buy one with my own money. It is going to be worth every cent of $75, everybody. Next slide. This is also worth every cent of $75 at Plant Delights. And if you can get this guy going, oh man, you can't not. Next slide. Perennials. Oh my God, I've got 5 minutes. Sylvia perfoliatum. I love big plants. This is my favorite plant right now in my yard. And this plant at Plant Delights is 14 feet tall. The one in my yard is only 8. But I'm just building soil. So next year maybe, but covered in flowers. Chrysanthemums, we can grow chrysanthemums outside, and they flower in October and November here. So if you want to extend that flower season, there you go. Next one. Grasses, please consider incorporating grasses into your landscape. I did spend my own money on Swergastrum nutans, Slim Pickens. This is Dr. Patrick McMillan, who's now taken over my responsibilities at JLBG. And but he had grown this from seed, and Tony and I selected it from the South Carolina Botanical Garden when he was there. Next slide. And this is what they can do for you. They can give you that extended season. You know, they come out in the spring and they grow in the summer, but man, the fall and the winter color can be really stunning. Next slide. Gnaphopia. Oh my goodness. There's so many cool Gnaphophias. I like big Gnaphophias, but there are some that even look like almost like daylilies that are so like small and compact. Next slide. Echinaceas. Okay. Echinaceas are kind of tough in the South. My grandfather grows some of the nicest ones, but he grew them from seed that he doesn't know where he got it from. If I go to the big box stores, there's Cheyenne Skies that you can buy, and they come in all the pretty colors. Those are seed grown. It's a seed strain. They're not necessarily reliable here in the South, but Terra Nova has released a series that are all kind of named after Hawaiian names. It's called I think it's Prairie Pillar series. This is Leilani. It's yellow, and we've been growing it for 3 years. Solid plant, no diseases, doesn't flop. Excellent plant. There's another one called Big Kahuna, and those are the two that I recommend. They just are the best performers for us. Next slide. Baptisias. There's so many. Tony and the JLBG has revolutionized Baptisias in the trade, and anything that Plant Delight sells Baptisia wise is going to be heads and tails amazing, more amazing than what you can buy at the retail garden centers yet. They're getting out there more, but the breeding work coming out of there, really, they just stand up. They come in all the colors, the shapes, the sizes. Next slide. Cool shout out to Eryngium yuccifolium, another one of my favorite perennials. It gives you like that cool alien look while also kind of giving you that yucca look that doesn't bite you, because sometimes yuccas are a little bitey. This does not bite. Next slide. And this different species is Eryngium aquaticum. Holy crap, that's September. Look at that color. Oh my gosh. And the scolid wasps. Love it. Next slide. So I'm going to hop on my stump, and I have 2 minutes over. Rethink your lawn. Everybody, I'm sure a lot of y'all have inherited lawns. Try not to always think you need to perpetuate your lawn. You can not have a lawn. It's okay. If your HOA insists on you having a lawn, we can help you with that too. But if you insist on having a lawn, NC State has an amazing website called Turf Files that will tell you how to grow every single kind of major group of turf, and it will also recommend varieties for you as well. I reduced the mowing in my lawn, especially in May. I found out that I have ladies' tresses orchids in my lawn, and that's just because I didn't mow for 4 weeks, which is okay. It's okay, everybody. Next slide. Eventually, though, this is what my lawn's going to look like. This is the prairie garden planting over at Bartlett Tree Service Research Center in Charlotte. And oh my gosh, this, you can like within like a couple feet, it just hums, and there's birds everywhere, and there's all sorts of native plants just in here filtering water and flowering and providing habitat. So that's kind of where I'm at. Anyways, next slide. So I think Mark gave his good stump speech on that. I'll let you just this is him reminding you of all the things he said about plants in the nursery. Next slide. Sourcing your plants. Take a picture of this, because these are some just really good things to kind of keep in the back of your brain. And this is kind of me whenever I'm coming home, and that's my poor boyfriend driving me home. Next slide. And I will end on this. Take a screenshot of this. This is a list of every single garden, nursery center, landscape supply store, anything that if you're a plant person or like plant things, this is a list of all of them on Google Maps. I've been curating this for about 5 years now. And anytime I find a new place to add to it, I try and add it, and I add commentary, and it pretty much extends all the way from Burlington to Zebulon, all the way down to Sanford. It is a true triangle of materials. And I think there's like 35 locations. So if you really want to go on a cool horticultural experience, this is the one. And you can go to the next slide, and I'll walk off. I know Mark. I tried really hard. I'm actually 1 minute under my practice time. I did practice. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it.